Hello and welcome back to Post Creature Pre-Dirt. I'm Maren, this is my writing channel, and this is a place where I like to talk about writing and creativity and all those kinds of things, but primarily I focus on talking about my debut novel trilogy, which is entitled Fall of Men. And there's going to be some little subtitles. I just haven't figured those out yet. But yeah, that's kind of what we do here. And today I want to talk about NaNoWriMo. It's not a crime to say NaNoWriMo, I don't think. So we're going to talk about Novel Writing Month, NaNoWriMo, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it NaNoWriMo because that's just what I've always called it. And the thing that I like about the concept of NaNoWriMo is it's just cool that a bunch of people are all working on creative projects all at the same time. It's just cool to be a part of a sort of a energetic movement where everybody is working on their goals and working on just, accomplishing something during this month. And I like the audacity of the goal to write a book in 1 month. I just think it's really cool. And so, yeah, I just wanted to be a part of it. And the way that I'm going to be a part of it is I'm going to be writing draft 3 of my novel, which is really exciting. And I started today and I'm feeling really good already. So yeah, I just wanted to pop on and talk a little bit about where I'm at, give a little bit of an update. So essentially what I've been doing over the past month is basically having a confrontation with reality, which basically told me that it was crazy for me to assume that I was going to be drafting book 2 right now. So I learned that lesson and I kind of just gave myself the opportunity to spend most of October just really thinking deep about the plot of my book, making sure that my character arcs are set up properly, making sure that all the little minutia of the story is going to be working out the way that I want it to. So I found a video that Claire Phrase, who is here on YouTube, had done where she sort of explained how to do a story grid, which I thought was really, really cool and really helpful because I have a very complicated story, have a lot of characters, have a lot of character arcs, and a lot of converging sort of plot points that are happening, and I need to make sure that they're intersecting properly. There was a character that I completely forgot was pregnant and gonna have a baby while traveling through the winter wilderness. And so those are little details that are really easy to forget when you're drafting a novel. And so I was very grateful for this plot grid because I was like, holy shit, that adds a whole new element of stress to the story that I need to work through and I need to figure out. And in addition to that, this character also already has an infant baby. So anyway, that was very, very helpful and very useful. It just feels like a really good way to break down the story in little bite-sized chunks so that I can know what direction I'm going and I can make sure that everything is happening in a logistically consistent manner. So that's one thing that I did, and I gave myself a lot of time to do that. I also gave myself a lot of time to just really think about my story, and I was realizing that while my villains have a ideological reason for what they're doing, it sort of felt like they didn't have a practical reason for how bad the baddies were being. And so I gave myself permission to really sort of explore and brainstorm and figure out what is that actual practical thing that they're doing? Why is violence increasing right now and not 10 years ago, not 5 years ago? Why is right now things sort of escalating to the point where it's inciting my main character to do something about it? And so I figured that out, I think, and I'm excited to start exploring that. But basically the point is right now, today, I started drafting draft 3 and I'm really excited about it so far. I did 1,700 words today, and in order for me to draft the entire book in November, which is actually my plan, I'm going to have to be writing a lot more than that. And I'm also going to be doing what Alyssa in the books has been talking about what she's doing, which is editing as I go, write a chapter, edit that chapter, and then so on and so on. So I'm going to have to be a little bit more prolific and productive than I was today. But one thing that is nice is that it's not a full rewrite. There are a lot of chapters that I'm going to be able to just revise. So I'm not so concerned about my word count needing to be 3,000 brand new words for this draft. It's probably going to be a mixture of drafting and revising. Certain scenes are going to be just fine as they are, but maybe I need to pad in a little bit more extra description or dialogue or things like that. So I'm not so worried. I am thinking my goal right now is to write 85,000 words, which is still pretty short, I think, given the book. And the 85,000 is kind of a preliminary goal because I would imagine that after I get beta reader feedback, there's still going to be more that I want to add. But also, as I've been doing this plot grid and as I've been sort of re-outlining my story, I've been sort of doing a reverse outline and just making sure I'm really happy with the way that things are going to be going in the story. there are lots of new chapters that I'm adding, and I'm actually adding some chapters from the perspective of my male love interest, my male main character, which is going to be fun. And I already wrote one of them just sort of like on a random whim of inspiration. And I was like, this is sick. I love this. I love being in his head and from his perspective. And I think it'll add a little bit of juiciness to the story to be able to see the female main character in little glimpses from his perspective. And yeah, it's my book. I get to do whatever I want. I get to decide what I want to do. And so that's something I've been sort of toying with. That on its own adds like 4 new chapters because I'm not doing too many. Book 2 is going to be like 50% from his perspective. So I just kind of wanted to sprinkle in a little bit of his perspective in this book, but not too much. It's been fun doing this reverse outlining in this plot and story grid because it's helping me really see how it's like even little tiny details that you add in, they can have really, really serious implications. Like the one I mentioned about one of my characters being pregnant at the beginning of the book. And it's like, oh, that has like serious implications later on. And I can't just ignore that. And because she's pregnant, it made me realize like, whoa, I've been really underutilizing this character. Like that could be a really interesting source of conflict, but also connection. It could also just be like an added sort of complication to what's happening in the story for her to be like very severely pregnant at this very like crucial point in the story. And so it's just fun because then it's like that little detail that came in like the first draft that this character, her name is Sage, happens to be pregnant. That was in the very, very beginning stages of the book. And now it's like, it's helped her become this like whole fleshed out character. And now I'm like really building her as like my female main character's like best friend. And like, there's so much more like character development for my main character through this relationship with this other character. And I know that this other character is also going to have more of an impact in book 2 and book 3. And so it's like, it's just been really fun going through all the different drafts of this book and seeing like what emerges and seeing like these little sort of seeds that I planted maybe in the first draft fruiting into something that's more interesting. And it's a lot to manage. And I do think it's a little crazy to be trying to write a trilogy when I've never like even really fully finished a single novel before. And I'm sure people like hate to hear it, but it's like, you know, when I first conceived of this story, I just knew that it wouldn't be able to be contained within the space of one novel. So I really set myself out the challenge to do a trilogy, which I knew would be really hard. And I don't think that I really fully realized even when I first started how hard it would be, but it's also been so rewarding and so fun to like watch these characters come alive. And I do think that I would have had to really, I would have had to really lessen the scope of this story if I were to make it like a one standalone book, because there's so much interesting stuff that I can do with these characters if they have space to breathe and space to do all of the things that they're supposed to do. And so I'm really interested to see what happens as I draft this month. I think it's going to be really fun. And I already had a blast this morning. I'm already adding more culture into the story. I'm adding more just like little character details, character moments that I didn't have before. And I'm trying to slow down the pace a little bit. I think I mentioned in my last video that like when I was reading through draft 2, it was going at like a breakneck pace. Like it was just so fast. Like there was just no time to breathe. And so I'm really trying to like slow down the pace. And I think that will pad the runtime, pad the page count. And so I am feeling good about that. And I'm feeling excited to just continue fleshing out this story. And really, you know, I'm loving my characters more and more as I write them. And I'm learning more and more about them. And it's so fun kind of watching them do what they do and seeing what happens, seeing what they would and wouldn't do. And what those little things, what those little micro personality choices that I've made or that have emerged from this sort of ether, wherever it comes from, it dictates so much of the plot in ways that I never could have imagined. And so it's just really fun. And so, yeah, you know, I think it's fun because the world is becoming more and more real for me. The characters are becoming more and more real for me. And I'm really having a lot of fun, you know, putting them in scenarios and then being like, oh no, they wouldn't do that thing. Like that character literally is going to refuse to do that thing. And so it creates all of these different sort of decisions that I then have to make as far as like where the story goes or what would naturally happen, or it just brings up all of these interesting things that I probably never would have considered. Writing Fall of Men is like the first time I've really seriously written a book. Like I've tried in the past, but I think there was always a part of me that knew like, this is not ever going to be published. This isn't this isn't good enough to be published. This is just kind of like an exercise of my own, just like trying to understand what even is writing a book. But this is the first one where I'm like, you know, I'm really serious about it. And it's so fun to me how like, it really is kind of like playing Sims in a sense, where it's like I have some control over what my characters do, but for the most part, they have a lot of autonomy and they resist against decisions that I might make. It honestly creates huge plot holes if I force them to do things that just seem out of character. That's something that I didn't even really experience in my previous attempts at writing novels, because I just don't even think I knew my characters well enough for them to like have a say in the story. I don't think I knew enough about craft and storytelling to see how all of these things like weave together. And it's just been really fun. It's really, really fun. And I just feel like excited every day to wake up and work on my book. It's like I wake up at like 6 in the morning every day and I like make my coffee and I think about the book and then I just like dive in, and it's sort of like my little ritual every morning. And I'm excited to be drafting again. It feels really good. It feels really fun. And yeah, my goal is to be done with this draft by the end of November. Like I really want to be able to get this to beta readers in December. So that's the goal right now. And I think it's probably going to take longer than I think, because everything has been taking like a month longer than I have anticipated. And so I'm okay with that if that's the case. But still, I think it's like a pretty solid goal. I have a lot of busy things happening in the rest of my life and like my professional life right now too. So, you know, a lot of things are going on right now, but it's fun and I'm excited and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the process. I'm sure there's probably going to be some moments this month where I end up writing a scene or two for book 2 or 3. And I think that'll still feel really productive because I'm laying the groundwork in this book. And so it really helps for me to know certain scenes that are going to be coming up in books 2 and 3. So yeah, it all works. It all adds up. It all fits. And so yeah, it's good. I'm having a great time with it. And I totally forgot to record an outro, so here it is. And I just wanted to say thank you so much if you made it this far into the video. I really appreciate you being here. Please like and subscribe if you like what I'm making here on YouTube. If you're a writer, I'd love to hear what you're doing for NaNoWriMo. Please leave it in the comments. Let me know what you have going on. What is your goal? What are you working on? And yeah, just love to hear it. Thank you so much for your attention and have a wonderful November.